Scott McLeod then. We spoke to the All Blacks defence coach on Friday before the team left for England and then on to France. So I'm not going to pretend that this is live. 2:22 time. Began by asking him how good is this to be this close to another World Cup kicking off?
Oh, mate. Obviously every 4 years. Went to the last one. Didn't do so well there, so really, really excited about what's coming up in the next couple of months in France.
How does it feel different for you, 2019, remembering catching the plane to Tokyo, catching the plane to France?
Yeah, I had a yak with Ian Foster about this the other day. It just feels like we're a little bit more prepared, just mentally and understanding our game, and I guess, you know, our DNA and what we're about. It just feels like we're a little bit more prepared in that space.
I want to quote a couple of things from Foz that he said to us in interviews to you, just about the attacking and the defensive mindset of the team. But just first and foremost, before we do that, just redefine what exactly is your role so that people don't confuse it.
Yes, I'm the defensive coach for the whole team. Yep.
Do you have any input into selection at all?
Every year I've been involved, Marty. I've been told there's 3 selectors, not 4, and I'm not one of the 3. So we have casual conversations with each of the selectors and at different times in coaching meetings, and they'll ask our opinion and we'll give it forward. But at the end of the day, those 3 decide on everything.
When Foz was talking to us about what he wants from the back line, I'll talk about attack in a second, but as far as the defence goes, he said, and I quote, "We are a really good defensive team, but I believe we've got another couple of cogs in that." So when you hear that, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's just probably in our collisions with the backs, but also the breakdown. We're not at the highest standard that we need to be in being able to turn the ball over in those breakdowns. And that starts with the collision, getting that really accurate and right, and then being almost brutal into those breakdowns to be able to get that ball back. So we've been chipping away at that the last couple of years. We keep finding opportunity, and the boys are growing in that space.
Do you approach that and look at it like you have 3 or 4 different plays in those circumstances that you'd like to do, or is it all just helter-skelter, just what happens at the time? Or do you specifically have different ways of attacking that breakdown in your own half, in their half?
Yeah, we do. So we look for opportunity where we think, you know, they might not be as strong, and the skill sets of our players that are playing that week. So we definitely do that, but also largely we have to be able to adjust and things that are thrown at us, and we need to be able to make good decisions quickly, and be able to execute that, mate.
In terms of then your role, how difficult or not is it when you have different players to do this with? Is it do you yourself look in defence for combinations, and actually, you know, is that something that you also have to argue with the head coach about? I need the same people doing this because it's easier to coach them because they know each other.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'd like to say that would be nice, but we just have to build the skill sets and the decision making across the board. For all players, no matter who's selected, and then really just drive some competition in that, Marty. Okay.
Scott McLeod is with us, defence coach for the All Blacks, and we're talking on Friday as the team is about to depart. Heading into Tokyo, and it really started big time. I don't have to remind you, 2017 in the Lions tour, it was all about the box kick, wasn't it? It was rush defence and the box kick. What are the biggest challenges you face from the opposition now in defence 4 years later, or are those two things just as relevant?
They are still very relevant. What you're seeing now, though, is a lot of teams are trying to play you through the middle of the field. They're trying to bunch you up there or create redundant defenders. So they're defending nobody, and then they just swing with loads of numbers into an edge of the field, you know, to one side of the field, and then they make you make decisions there. So they have runners in the front, runners out the back, and they'll hit wherever they think the space is. So that's been really has really grown in the attack game across northern and southern hemisphere in the last couple of years.
One of the things that we had going back to 2011 to diffuse was called the Bomb Squad with Richard, of course, and Israel and Corey Jane. Do you specifically work, or how much work do you do in that, diffusing those high kicks and looking at your systems and players around, and how to put people in the right positions when that happens?
Yep, 100%. So I do a lot of work on that, particularly when we're playing against the Box and any northern sides like England and teams that where they get no momentum, then they'll look to try and put a contestable kick up somewhere and regain it to play again. So we put as much time in as allowing the catcher to have clean airspace to catch into, if that makes sense. So a lot of our work coming back towards the ball, making sure that it's created a space he can jump into and he can win that airspace. Because if we find if we do that, we're more than likely to catch the ball. South Africa will try and put someone up into that space, a lock or someone tall, and try and disrupt that. So we can control that.
One of the other things I was watching during the Six Nations, and I'm damn sure that you've spent an inordinate amount of hours doing this as well, is the way that Ireland and France were really keen, especially France when they played Ireland, to attack from the 22. So it's almost like your first line of defence is actually in their half, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. So most teams now are looking for space, and when you're exiting out, a lot of teams want to hold 3 to 4 people back getting ready for that kick, and that's the opportune time to actually play into that space, because there's so much more there. There's less defenders, so they will now run and kick into that space and play short, and most teams have got the confidence to do that now. So you have to be on no matter where you are.
How do you teach scrambling defence, Scott?
Yeah, it's all about how much they care, Marty. How hard you're willing to work and to get back and put yourself in places where you're needed. So you just got to grow the care. And if you have, 23 guys willing to care deeply, then they will run fast for you.
First half against Australia, I bet you were grumpy because we conceded a couple of tries out wide that looked kind of similar in that. I don't know what was wrong with that defence system at that stage, but guys weren't getting across fast enough. What was your analysis of it?
Yeah, I was grumpy, all right.
I bet, yeah.
I was grumpy because we didn't execute the skill sets we previewed and trained all week, and that was the height of our tackles. So, we'd miss tackles, we'd let them get on the gain line and get through us, and then they were just running on top of us, and we couldn't put any pressure on them. And it all stemmed from not nailing our tackling skill right from the word go.
Right.
So those guys at the end, they can have 3 or 4 players running at them, and it's not their fault because we haven't done the first part right. So we're definitely going to focus on getting our skill set right in that area.
In terms of the attack, and I'm sorry I've taken a bit of time to get to this, but this is fascinating listening to you talking about that side of the ball. Okay, but when it comes to attack, it's also that turnover stuff of turning the defence into attack first and foremost. Fozzie was saying that he doesn't want to over-structure it. He wants to empower the players, though, to see space, to take space. Now, in your mind, is that anywhere in the field, and that's where your defence coach becomes your attack coach at the same time? Yeah,
absolutely. So it's if not the major reason why we defend is to get the ball back, and we love as Kiwis that unstructured attack and playing with our gut feel and what we can see. And if we put that skill set around what spaces are we looking for, is it a run space, is it a pass space, a kick space, and we get excited about that. So that's why we defend. That's why we want to get the ball back.
Scott McLeod is with us. In terms of empowering the players and filling them full of confidence, what do you say to them about, hey, look, you're going to make a mistake. I hope you don't, and you don't want to, but you are going to make mistakes. Things are going to go wrong. You're going to miss these things. How do you get out of that mindset and don't fall into the fear of, oh, my God, I've made a mistake. I don't want to make another one?
Yeah, so you can't control every situation. And in defence, we have a few principles that we live by, and we've got defence leaders on the park, and if they're seeing some things happening that aren't our principles, then they can deal with that. And a guy will make, like you say, a mistake and make the wrong call or not do the principle that we're after, and it should be an easy fix, really, and we can send those messages down and correct that at the same time.
Is this what, when you get into that halftime huddle, you've got 10 or 15 minutes, how much time do you spend during that time actually breaking this kind of stuff down? Or is it just to build people's confidence, or do you actually go into the nitty-gritty of what, like we've been talking about?
Well, firstly, you have to understand their awareness of what's happening. So we will listen, and if they're solving the issues and coming up with really good solutions around those issues, then we will just build their confidence on that and back them. If they're not aware, then we'll make them aware and then come up with the solutions to fix it.
I've got a couple more questions, if that's all right.
Yeah, mate.
Secret tactics. I know you've got a black folder there somewhere. It's like the nuclear secrets attached to your wrist, right?
Oh, I think you're talking to the wrong coach. Like a lot of attack coaches do.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive coaches, like, we can surprise and show something that they haven't anticipated. And that gets the boys excited, But we don't have a large array of those. Just one or two things, depending on what our strengths are. Because you've got to convince the player that we can do it, and how then we're going to weaken the opposition by doing it.
This time last year, mate, the team was in a completely different space. We'd lost games, we'd lost historic series, all of that kind of stuff. We'd had performances which were brilliant performances, and then we'd crash back a week later. How different is it a year from now? How different are you and your attitude to training, to your players and everything else? What has changed inside you and the team in that 12 months?
Can you say that again, mate? Go again, sorry.
What has changed in the last 12 months? Last year we were lacking confidence. Passes weren't sticking. We were losing games. A year from that, we've won every game this year, playing with a lot more confidence. What's changed between then and now?
Yeah, I think like there's big changes in the coaching group. And with that comes the way they see the game and talk about the game. And all really positive changes. And I think it's just taken us as a coaching group a little while to understand each other, to hear each other, find out how we work, but also the players to understand that as well, Marty. It took them a year to just have a go at stuff, and what does it mean? And when we say talk about space, like, what does that mean, and how are we going to do it? And this year we come in really clear, simplified a few structures, and for them to see the game, and the players have really embraced it, I think.
All right, man. Paris, I'll see you there from quarterfinals onwards, just on the other side of the media microphones and so forth. What is your message to New Zealand, mate? What do you want from us as fans?
We've really felt the support this year, big time, and it's meant the world to the whole group. We're going into a really hostile environment in France. Their support is huge, and we'd love to be able to match that with the Kiwis that are going over and being able to feel it from home. And we'll do our best for you.
That's all we can ask, man. Good luck.
Yeah. Thanks, matey.